So today we're going to be exploring figurative language, specifically similes, metaphors, and personification. But I did want to give you guys a bit of a background to that. So figurative language is a tool that an author employs to help the reader visualize what is happening in a story or poem or kind of any piece of work. So we're going to focus on three aspects of figurative language today, but throughout this unit we'll touch upon onomatopoeias, alliteration, hyperboles, analogies, and euphemisms. So we'll get to those and define those at a later date, but figurative language today, when I use that, it's going to be encompassing similes, metaphors, and personification. You can kind of think of it though as a whole, to picture it in your mind as like kind of a boat, basically. It's a boat that carries all of these things. So it carries similes, metaphors, personification, onomatopoeias, alliterations, hyperboles, analogies, and euphemisms. It just carries a ton of stuff. So we will cover all of those, but specifically today we're going to cover similes and metaphors and personification. So our learning targets today, I will be able to identify figurative language, similes, metaphors, and personification through a pre-reading quiz and be able to create my own example of figurative language with a partner. I will explore the use of figurative language throughout the work of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer through the use of post-it response notes. Those are our two learning targets for today. We're going to kind of engage with those a little bit. So in order for us to have a nice chorus, on the count of 3, I will have us read aloud this first learning target. So 1, 2, 3.
I will be able to identify figurative language, similes, metaphors, and personification through a pre-reading quiz and be able to create my own examples of figurative language with a partner.
Awesome. So now go ahead and copy that into your notebook or on a scrap piece of paper. And when you're done copying it down, just go ahead and put your pen down and look up at me so I know that you're finished. So, we're going to do the exact same thing with our second learning target, which is a little shorter, so it'll be a little quicker there. But on the count of 3 again, we want to sound nice and pretty, right? 1, 2, 3.
I will explore the use of figurative language throughout the work of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer through the use of post-it response notes.
Okay, and again, go ahead and copy this down in your notebook. Down. It's good to kind of get an idea of the learning targets because it tells you a little bit about what's going on today and gives you an idea of everything that's going to happen throughout the lesson. Your partner and share your thoughts on the learning targets and kind of what you're going to expect to see in class today. Anyone near you is fine. Just go ahead and turn to them, and then when you guys are done, so that you're not getting a little off topic there, go ahead and put your eyes back on me so I know that you're ready to move on.
So, we're going to be talking what is personification again? Personification. I don't remember. Yeah. Person. Yourself. Something. Yeah. That sounds good. I just see myself probably like figurative language in Tom Sawyer. Where else you get that? I read it a couple years ago. There it is.
All right, it looks like most of you are finished. So go ahead and put your eyes back on me. Awesome. Okay, so on your separate, either in your notebook or on a piece of paper that in front of you, you can do the same when you wrote the learning targets down on. We're going to go ahead and get started on our pre-reading quiz. So we're going to identify whether these quotes are, whether it contains a simile, a metaphor, or personification. It could contain all three, both, just one. There could be a mixture in there. So there's going to be 4 quotes total. But to start off, I'll go ahead and read you these first 2 before we move on. So, have you got a brook in your little heart where bashful flowers blow and blushing birds go down to drink and shadows tremble so? I'm going to identify whether you think that's a simile, metaphor, or personification. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. Go ahead and write down what you think that one is. Now we've got these 2. So our soldiers are as brave as lions. I would have given anything for the power to soothe her frail soul, tormenting itself in its invincible ignorance like a small bird beating about the cruel wires of a cage. That one's kind of tricky, so take a minute on that one. Awesome. Now I want you to turn to your partner. It can be the same partner that you were with. And you're going to share the answers that you came to for 1 through 4. And then I also, with your partner, would like you to create 1 simile, 1 metaphor, and an example of a personification. Just give me a 1. So, yeah, go ahead and turn to your partners and discuss.
I'm not sure, like, this is midway through a unit where we already know these things, because if
I think it's a free quiz, so we kind of have to, we're guessing if we don't know what they are.
Right, okay, that's kind of what I did. Like, I was guessing as if I were in, I guess, 9th or 10th grade. Yeah, so, which my guess is really completely off base, just from my...
I guess number 1 was personification.
Oh, I said it was simile because it made me smile.
It could have been both. I said number 2 was a metaphor.
Okay.
And number 3 was a simile.
I said it was personification because it sounded like a person, and so like it was the person with the lion, so that's why I said that.
Okay. I remember learning that similes use and act. So that's what I said simile.
Dang it.
And then the last one I said was personification.
I said metaphor because I didn't use it yet.
That's a good idea. When in doubt, use the way you use it. That works. So now we have to make examples.
Something that makes me smile. The sunshine. I walked into the sunshine and danced.
How about she smiles like the sunshine?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
What did you say it was?
She smiles like the sunshine.
So metaphor you said was like meta. What does meta mean? I thought it was like 4. It sounded like 2. Metaphor.
Do you want the real answer or the high school doesn't know?
The high school doesn't know.
I think a metaphor is a fancy simile.
Okay.
Because like meta is like up in here, and four has a hammer.
Yes. So it's like a hammer in your head. I love it.
I think it's just a harder simile. A little
Okay,
less, a little
so
less
so she
obvious.
walked into the what's harder than sunshine.
Metaphor.
Maybe like.
They're different.
Teachers need help.
What do you guys need help on?
Metaphor. We're not real sure what.
I thought it sounded like meta, which is like brain, and for, which is like sounds like Thor's, or like.
So metaphor, right? So simile, we're using like or as to compare something. But a metaphor, you're not using like or as. You're still like comparing those things. You're not using like or as to do so.
Okay, well, I learned comparing in my science class. It's like if we're comparing two pieces of evidence, we're like this one's kind of like this one, but it's not like that, and it supports my conclusion. Is it comparing like that?
Say that again.
Like if we're comparing evidence in my science class, we see like, okay, which one supports my claim better, but I don't know if that's the kind of comparing you're talking about.
We're not talking about direct comparing. Like, I think I see what you're saying now, where you're like, here, like this particular example supports my hypothesis. It's not like that. It's more along the lines. So I'm going simile now because that's all I'm thinking about. So think of a rose, right? What does a rose symbolize? Love. Love. So how would you say that a rose is a bud or a bud? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I don't know much about flowers, but a rose is a bud of growing love. So
I like that sentence. I'm gonna write that one.
So, if it were a simile, it would say a rose is like a bud of growing love. But with a metaphor, we're just removing that like and still comparing roses to love and drawing that connection, just not as explicitly as maybe like this quote supports my hypothesis in this way. It's generally a sentence. It's drawing that comparison. Or symbolic. Think of imagery kind of. Like you're creating a picture in your mind. So if I maybe draw a rose and thorn, like your mind goes to love. Metaphors
like in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a good connection.
That's a great connection. Good job.
Okay.
How many of you have created an example of a simile, metaphor, and personification? Raise your hand. See kind of where we're at here. Okay, looks like most of you have something. If not, you at least have one maybe, and that's totally fine. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to talk about it. So if you're daring enough, I would like you to come up here and write your example, one of your examples, don't say what it is, on the board. Does anyone want to come write it? Yeah. Right here. Okay, does anyone want to say what that is that I just wrote? Is it a simile, a metaphor, or personification? Anyone have any ideas? Colleen?
I see it's definitely a simile, but I also see a little bit of personification with the black pit suffering.
What makes you think it's a simile?
Is a, I guess.
Is a black pit of suffering?
I think it's a metaphor because it doesn't use like or as to compare things.
So Colleen, you were close, but I think without the like or as, it transforms into a metaphor a little bit. Does anyone have any other ideas? Anything else it could be? Does anyone else want to come up here and share their example? Well, let's talk about the free reading quiz really quick. What did you guys get for 1, which was the Emily Dickinson quote? What did you guys come up with for that? Anyone? Hannah?
Personification.
Personification? What made you say that?
When it says bashful flowers, like how could a flower be bashful?